The benefits, I believe, to Graft shareholders are to provide access to a robust, de-risked pipeline.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Graft Polymer UK CEO Anthony Tennyson. Anthony, very good to speak with you. Could you start by explaining the rationale for acquiring Awaken Life Sciences?
Indeed, I can. And first of all, Stephen, good to talk to you again and good to talk to your audience again today. I'm really pleased about the news that we released yesterday, where Graft Polymer has entered into a binding letter of intent or term sheet to acquire the Canadian biotech Awaken Life Sciences. The reason that I'm so excited about that is because of Awaken's pipeline, their data, and their people or their talent or their team. Their pipeline, it's a really interesting company. What they have is they've got a robust clinical stage pipeline, which provides a de-risked opportunity for us. They've got two medium and late clinicals or mid and late clinical stage programs. AWKN-001, which is targeting severe alcohol use disorder in the UK market or for the UK market, and AWKN-002, which is targeting moderate to severe alcohol use disorder in the US. That pipeline, as I said, it provides us with access to mid to late clinical stage programs, which significantly de-risks this for us. And really, as from an investor perspective, it provides Graft now with near to medium term revenue opportunities at quite a fair price, we believe, for Graft's investors. The second thing that we really like about Awaken is its data. The phase 2 data that Awaken acquired the IP from the University of Exeter was really very encouraging for severe alcohol use disorder. What people should think about is people coming onto that trial were abstinent or sober 2% of the time. So they were sober 7 days a year. Those that went through the active arm of that trial, they actually achieved a level of abstinence of 86% in the 6 months post-treatment. So to move from 2% to 86% abstinence or sobriety, that's quite material for an indication that has a very large addressable market and a relatively poor current standard of care, presents an opportunity for a significant opportunity to address this significant unmet medical need. And so what we're doing is we're really pleased that trial is moving forward now into phase 3. And then the third thing that we are particularly attracted to by Awaken, or were particularly attracted to by Awaken, is the team. Professor David Nutt, who Graft Polymer already has a relationship with, is the Chief Research Officer there. But Professor Celia Morgan is a scientific advisor, as is Professor Barbara Mason. And Professor Celia Morgan is one of the leaders in the UK in the area of alcohol use disorder treatment. And very importantly for us, Professor Barbara Mason is a very significant individual in the area of alcohol use disorder treatment in the United States. She runs the Scripps Institute, which is one of the largest and leading alcohol use disorder research institutes in the US.
And can you tell us a little bit more about Awaken's lead program, Anthony?
Indeed, I can. So that is AWKN-001. It's targeting severe alcohol use disorder. And as I said, phase 2 is completed. Awaken acquired the IP from phase 2 from the University of Exeter. And that trial is now in phase 3, being executed in a partnership between Awaken, the UK Department of Health. It's been funded on the University of Exeter. It's been funded 2/3 by the UK Department of Health through the National Institute for Health and Care Research and the Medical Research Council. So again, a lot of what we're interested in about Awaken is the fact that it's de-risked. And so to have a phase 3 trial 2/3 funded by a National Department of Health is significant for us in de-risking it. That trial is a 280-person phase 3 trial. And because of the relationship that Awaken has with the Department of Health in the UK, the trial is only costing 2.25 million sterling, with Awaken's costs capped at 800,000 sterling. So again, all about de-risking. That's significant for us and our interest in Awaken. That trial started in July of this year. is forecast to run through probably in 2026, with data analysis in 26, and ideally a marketing authorization application in the UK through the course of 2027, subject to the trial being successfully completed, obviously. And ideally then having a product in market in the UK for the treatment of severe alcohol use disorder at some stage, late 2027, early 2028. All things being equal, timelines may change depending upon the engagement with the regulators. But that's very significant for a early stage or small biotechnology company like Graft to now have access to an asset that's in phase 3 has the potential to be in market within the next couple of years.
Anthony, I see on the 3rd of December, you announced a planned rebrand of Graft Polymer to Solvonis Therapeutics. What's the rationale for that, and how does the planned acquisition of Awaken support that?
Indeed, that's a great question. So this is all part of the journey that we're on in Graft Polymer, Graft Polymer UK PLC. It's to build a leading neuropsychiatry, UK-focused neuropsychiatry company. And Solvonis speaks to what we want to do and where we want to go. So we are focused and interested in helping address addiction and mental health. We want to try and solve some of those problems to provide hope for the individuals, families, and communities who currently are for whom the current treatments aren't effective. So that is part of the rebrand journey, the repositioning or the positioning journey that we're going on. And so obviously the acquisition of Awaken clearly supports that journey because Awaken, although small, Awaken is a leading company in the development of therapeutics for treating addiction. And so that is very complementary to what we want to do in looking to now position Graft as Solvonis Therapeutics in due course and as potentially a leader in the neuropsychiatry space for the treatment of addiction and mental health.
Anthony, can you outline the benefits for both sets of shareholders through this acquisition?
Stephen, happy to do that. I think probably I'll focus on the benefit to Graft shareholders, if that's okay. So I think, as I said through the course of this discussion, the benefits I believe to Graft shareholders are to provide access to a robust, de-risked pipeline because Awaken has one program in phase 3, which is its 001 program. It has a second program in phase 2 planning in its 002 program targeting alcohol use disorder in the US. And it has some early high potential preclinical programs. So the benefit to Graft is the acquisition of those assets, the complement to Graft's existing team with some very good talent that exists within the Awaken team. And also then the significant benefit is we get full ownership of the preclinical program that we have co-invested with them in. So from my perspective, there are very few companies out there in the addiction and mental health category, which is where Graft is operating in, that will have clinical stage assets that are available for the price that we were able to secure or that we are planning to secure Awaken for. So all in all, I believe this is positive for Graft shareholders and is all part of the journey that we're bringing Graft on, which is to transition to Solvonis Therapeutics and build that into a leading UK-based, UK-focused neuropsychiatry company seeking to address addiction and mental health.
I hope you'll keep us posted on any developments as that acquisition proceeds. Thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Take care.
You too. That's Anthony Tennyson. He's the CEO of Graft Polymer.